Welcome back to Cooking with Tony UV. We're talking about PASTA, we're talking about threat modeling, we're diving into stage 6. Stage 6 is attack modeling. Now getting some formation in terms of like fettuccine style pasta that's fresh. I can't wait to dig in. But let's first dig into attack modeling, stage 6 of the process for attack simulation and threat analysis. So stage 6 is really about talking about the viability of attack. To what degree are attack patterns viable based upon our application model, based upon the architecture, based upon the vulnerabilities that we found out in stage 5. Stage 6 is adding new layers to that attack tree that we just built, much like maybe adding bits of flour to our dough so that the dough doesn't dry out, which reminds me I have to add a little bit more here to my cut pasta. But going back to attack modeling, what we want to do is we want to be able to add on attack patterns. And the great thing about threat modeling is that you can leverage industry taxonomy of terms on attack patterns, vulnerabilities, stage 5 again, or threat intel, stage 4. With stage 5, we have the opportunity to look at vulnerabilities, and when we think about vulnerabilities in the security industry, we have an opportunity to rope in things like common weakness enumeration lists or common vulnerability enumeration lists, right? CVEs and CWEs. I like an attack tree that has CVE, CWE, little identifiers as part of vulnerabilities that are in my growing attack tree for a particular threat. If I'm beginning with a threat on extortion, I'm going to see what components in my application, stage 2, are affected and what associated vulnerabilities, CVEs, might actually give rise to that threat on information disclosure, credential compromise, et cetera, et cetera. Stage 6 is about what types of attacks could be conducted against those vulnerabilities, assuming that the attacker or the threat actor has direct access to that affected component. So here we start to map in things like KPEC from MITRE. It's a library of attack patterns, or we could even map in the attack ATT&CK post-exploitation framework list, where we have layers of attacks that are in our attack tree. So imagine, if you will, again, a parent node of a threat that is affecting components, that is tied to vulnerabilities, that is tied to attack patterns. We start to see, the attack tree become fuller and fuller, much like a delicious piece of broccoli, as we continue with the cooking theme. But attack patterns is so important, and it's such a beneficial component to break into our threat modeling methodology, because now we're trying to think, is this attack viable? Does it lend credence to threat likelihood, right? We could actually give our attack tree, give it to a well-off, knowledgeable pen tester, and they can look at the attack tree that we've built up until now as a blueprint for trying to exploit the application to see if there's some level of credence to the threat concerns that we have in our threat model. Now, from a bigger perspective, let's say that you're looking at this cooking with pasta tutorial video, and you're thinking, you're coming from the point of view of a product owner, right? You want to know all these different security things that are coming at you. What sort of things should you really look at first? This is the whole point around pasta. It's a risk-centric approach. If you have an attack that works against a vulnerability, stage 5, against that supports a threat claim or within a threat library, stage 4, that is launched against a technology component or software in stage 2, you start to see, okay, I'm using this component, it's vulnerable, it fell victim to an attack, and it worked. And it goes against the things I care about in stage 1, which is either continuity or maybe regulatory compliance, or maybe it is related to not having information disclosure. and et cetera, et cetera. You define those business objectives. We already went over those in stage 1. So this is about bringing it all together. So much like this stage right here, where I'm actually taking a knife, I got my sheet of dough, I'm carving out my slices of dough that I'm going to run through my roller. I'm going to run through my cutter over here. We're trying to basically put things together. And this is what this cooking metaphor is all about. It's putting all these different ingredients together to show a point on a risk-centric approach to handle the most likely and most business impacting flaws that could affect your application. Now, stay tuned to stage 7. This is where we finalize with countermeasure development and ultimately residual risk analysis. So don't go anywhere. We'll dive into that and we'll finish out cooking with pasta with stage 7, countermeasure development and residual risk analysis.